Hi everyone, welcome back to the weekly LEAP videos. I'm Renee Blasky of the LEAP Network. I want to continue the Courage, Risk, and Rewards video series, and this is part 2. So if you haven't watched part 1 before, I suggest you go in and you do that, and also download each of the worksheets that come with each video, because in it you'll see some exercises and I'll go over some of these exercises. But if you have it in front of you, it's probably easier to do. So I hope you enjoyed part 1. And if, as I said, if you haven't watched it yet, go back and watch it, because it just kind of leads the whole issue, and it really gives you a better idea about what taking chances means and what it means to you to make mistakes. So if you haven't, go back and do that. But in this video, part 2, we're going to actually dive deeper into the concept of having courage and taking those risks and then reaping those rewards. But I want to share with you the most important message to take away from this whole program, okay? And that is, the biggest risk in life is not the possibility of making a mistake. It's never trying in the first place. Because if you don't try, you never know how much risk you can actually accept in your life. And I don't want you living with regret. And just getting out of bed takes a risk. So take that risk, learn how to accept risk and deal with it, okay? We take chances in our life whether we realize it or not. As I mentioned, just getting out of bed can be a risk, okay? But when you get on an airplane, cross the street, or just walk down the sidewalk, you run the risk of something bad happening. But it doesn't stop you from doing it, does it? Because we know that we need to get from point A to point B. And in order to get to point B, we need to step up. We need to move. We need to act. So taking a chance on something new doesn't necessarily mean that you are avoiding risk. It just means that you're uncertain of the results. That's what risk is. It's uncertainty. You're uncertain of the results, okay? So I want to explore the effort required for you to take some chances. And when you went in video 1, you got a different perspective of how much risk you've taken and how you were afraid of mistakes, or maybe you weren't afraid of mistakes, depends on what your attitude is towards making mistakes, okay? But hopefully you can realize that when you take risk, when you take a chance, even though when you don't know what the outcome is going to be, that you can actually reap the benefits of it, okay? So let's look at some of these things. I want you to look at courage. Just, just the simple courage, the concept of courage, okay? Sometimes we do things that not necessarily neutral or safe, but we still do them. Sometimes they can actually be negative. And again, we don't seem to think it's a risk just because we're so used to it. So keep that in mind. But the comfort zone that we live in can be very seductive because it keeps us safe. It keeps us in that cocoon of knowing that we're not stepping out of our comfort zone. But when you step out of your comfort zone is when big things can happen. You can change your life. You can change the direction, your path, and where you're going to go. So if you've got big dreams, you're going to have to take some risks. If you don't have big dreams, are you living your life to your fullest? And if you're not living your life to the fullest, is it because you're too afraid of risk? Okay, so let's look at the courage that you already have. Okay, we avoid chances more often than not because we're afraid. We're trapped by that fear that either we're going to make a mistake, or somebody's going to make fun of us, or we're going to get hurt, or maybe it's about how we feel about ourselves. Maybe we're insecure about ourselves already, and so taking that step out, maybe we're afraid that it's going to make us feel even worse. But think about the positive side. Maybe it will prove to you that you actually have more courage than you thought. And I think you'd be surprised, okay? We need to have courage, because people who don't have courage typically don't thrive. They don't live life to the fullest. They don't necessarily love to the fullest. because they're stuck in that comfort zone. They're stuck in their security blanket, just like a little kid wants to have that security blanket. But when you get rid of it, you can start exploring, you can start discovery, you can start maximizing your potential by taking and having that courage and taking risks. Okay, now I want to do a fun activity. All right, so take out a piece of paper. If you haven't already downloaded the worksheet or the ebook for this series, and I'll give you the link. But if you haven't already done so, you can continue on with this. You don't necessarily have to do it, but it's probably better if you go and download it. But if you don't want to do that right now, you don't have access to the video, that's okay. So what I want you to do, this is the activity number 1 in the ebook for part 2. Take out a sheet of paper and fold it into 4. Okay, so you have 4 quadrants. And I want you to label the upper left quadrant as not a problem for me to do. Okay, not a problem for me to do. So that's the first quadrant, the upper left-hand side. The second quadrant, okay, so the upper right-hand quadrant, I want you to label it, I have done this, but found it scary. I have done this, but found it scary. Okay? Now, the bottom left-hand quadrant, I want you to label, I would be willing to try this. I would be willing to try this. And then finally, that fourth quadrant in the bottom right-hand corner, label it, I would never do this. I would never do this. Okay? So now you have a sheet of paper with the 4 quadrants. The first one is not a problem for me to do. Upper right is I have done this but found it scary. The bottom left is I would be willing to try this. And the bottom right is I would never do this. Now, in the worksheet, in the ebook, you will find a whole list of things in the worksheet number 2 labeled, that's just crazy. Okay, and it's got a whole list of activities that you would look at, and then you would put them in whichever quadrant you felt that that was most appropriate for you. So I'll give you an example, and if you don't have that, you can start making activities up. Maybe activities that you've done that you know took courage, or maybe activities that you know that you'll never do, or those that you did do but don't want to do again because it was scary. Okay, so but let me just give you some examples. So activities. Have you ever taken part in a karaoke competition? So have you done it and found it scary? You'd never do it? Which quadrant does that fit in? In a no smoking area, you'd actually ask someone to stop smoking. Okay? If you've ever done it, you know it can be scary because you never know what the reaction of the person is going to be. Would you go bungee jumping or skydiving or zip lining or whitewater rafting? Would you climb a mountain? Would you go in a helicopter? Would you go in an airplane, a small airplane? So these are some of the activities that you can label. Would you ever go for counseling when you're having a difficulty, something personal or a relationship issue? Would you hug a complete stranger who's in distress? Would you ever cry in public? Have you ever gotten into a physical fight, or would you? Would you live on an island for a month? Or maybe you live in the cabin in the woods or the mountains with no internet or phone? Would you take a vow of silence for a day? How about throwing a snowball at somebody? What about getting your fortune told? Going on a blind date? How about dancing in the pouring rain? Okay? And then would you play a practical joke on someone? How about speaking in public? I know a lot of people have an issue with that one. If you get into an elevator or a lift, would you laugh hysterically for 5 seconds even though you don't know a soul? Would you eat something that's still alive, or eat something that you don't even know what it is? Or would you eat something that you've never had before, you know what it is, but you're still going to eat it? Okay? Would you spend a week in meditation at a retreat? How about swimming nude in public, skinny dipping, or going running through the crowd naked. Okay, how about jumping off a high cliff into the ocean? So these are the types of activities that I want you to put in each of those quadrants. So take a few minutes to do it. And as I said, you can go into the ebook and sign up for the ebook, and you'll get it instantly. So it doesn't take long to download it. Look at that list, and again, add more to it. As you've done something, or you've thought about doing something that you decided not to do, or you did it once, as I said, and you didn't like it because it was too scary and you don't want to do it ever again. Okay? So take the time, write out which activity would go into those 4 quadrants. So let me know how it goes. Stop the video if you haven't been doing it while I've been labeling these things. All right, now I hope you had taken the exercise, the time to do this exercise, because it really gives you an idea to assess your attitude towards risk and determine how courageous you are to do activities that you've already done and you would do it again, or you'll never do because they're just too scary. Okay? So are you surprised at what you found? Okay? But I want you to, if you haven't done it yet, go back and do it. But work quickly, just trusting your gut reaction. Don't think too hard about it because there's no right or wrong answer. It's specifically up to you. Okay? So when you're completed, I want you to congratulate yourself, and I hope you had fun doing it. Okay? So now, if you need more time, that's fine. Stop the video. After you're done, I want you to answer the following questions to yourself. What did you notice when you were going through this exercise? Did you become agitated? Did you become excited? Did you become stressed out? Did you feel that, wow, I've got more courage than I thought? What did you feel? And what did you notice? What came out in your emotions? The second question I want you to answer is, what surprised you? Did anything really surprise you as to what you would do or what you did do? Maybe when you were young, you were a real daredevil, and now that you're older, you've kind of shrunk back. If you have shrunk back, why? What was it about your life that has changed or has made you change your attitude toward risk? Were any of your personal boundaries challenged? Did they force you to get out of that comfort zone? And if so, what were they and why? And then finally, your fourth question. What did you learn about your attitude towards risk? Did you find anything exciting? Does it make you want to go climb a mountain? Go try out a new car? Go ride a bike around the block? Something, learn something? Anything. A friend of mine the other day did a Facebook Live just before she was going to do a paddleboard yoga class, and she had never done it. She wasn't a great swimmer, so she was very, very nervous, and she was actually in tears, and I just wanted to reach out and hug her. But you know what? She had such great courage. She did it, and afterwards she posted on Facebook, and she was so jubilant because she was so proud of herself, and I was very proud of her too, that she did it. She didn't fall in, and she was very comfortable. And so now she's pushed that boundary of knowing that you need to get out of your comfort zone. Because remember, when I asked, when you do that, does it make you feel like you've got to curl back up, or does it actually give you more confidence and more ability to take on more risk? Okay, so even by completing these exercises and examining how you look at courage and risk, you're already proving to yourself that you do have courage. So rock it. You can do this. And I'm really looking forward to part 3. So again, if you haven't completed this exercise, please complete the exercise before you go on to part 3. Download the free ebook series, and I think you'll get more out of it by even reading it. it also acts as kind of a transcript for this video. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about and explore what it means to have courage and then take the risk and reap the rewards. So I certainly hope to see you there. And until next time, take care. Bye.